Friends, before starting today's horror story, I would like to tell you a very interesting stat. 80% of our viewers who watch our stories haven't subscribed to our channel. And if you are one of them, you have to do a small task where you have to click to the subscribe button and also press the bell icon so that you are the first to get the notification as soon as our video arrives. Tarot. We all remain very curious to find out more things about our future. How will our lives be? Who will we marry, and how rich will we be? All of such things excite us a lot. Therefore, we go to fortune tellers and tarot card readers. Tarot reading is an art where a tarot reader can tell your future using some cards. They request the positive energies surrounding them to help find out the correct card that suits their destiny. But what if, instead of positive energy, it's the negative energy giving answers to the questions? Like everyone, these things used to excite 25-year-old Margaret a lot. She had dropped out of her medical studies to learn more about tarot reading and wanted the same thing to be her career. Her parents used to remain very upset with her, as she had dropped out of her medical studies, and that's why she had left her home in Georgia to live alone in Florida. Certain clients started coming to Margaret to get their tarot reading, and Margaret too, with clean intent, used to do their tarot reading. One day, Margaret's young sister Katie came to Florida to meet her. Margaret was pleased after meeting her sister after a long time, but Katie had come to her to convey some bad news. Katie told Margaret that her father's health was not well, and doctors had said that he would only live for some more days. As Margaret heard this, she got sad and started sobbing. Katie told her to come back home, as she should be with her father during his last days. Margaret decided that she would leave for her home with Katie the very next morning. They both became very sad as they were talking about the same topic. Thus, to lighten up their mood, they started talking about their childhood days. Margaret had an album where she had kept several photos related to their childhood, and on the last few pages of the album, Margaret had stuck several photos of the tarot card deck. Looking at those, Katie remembered that she had brought a new tarot card deck for Katie. She gave it to Margaret and started insisting on Margaret giving a tarot reading of hers. They both turned off all the lights in the house, and Margaret started reading about that new deck from the instruction book. The new deck was a little unusual, and she was getting a different feeling from that deck of tarot cards. But Katie had brought that gift for Margaret very lovingly, so she couldn't refuse to read those cards for her. As soon as Katie read the instructions, she shuffled the whole deck of cards and started inviting all the positive energies surrounding her. Margaret took 5 cards out of the deck for her sister Katie, as they represented some important events of her life. And the events were love, career, family, personal growth, and life expectancy. As soon as Margaret was about to start the reading, she started hearing some unusual sounds coming from her room. She left Katie there and went to check in her room. As she reached there, she saw that the cupboard was open and all the tarot card decks were lying on the floor. Margaret was shocked as she saw this because the door of the cupboard was locked. As soon as she started picking up cards lying on the floor, she started feeling that someone was looking at her from under the bed. As Margaret looked towards the bed, she saw a head going inside it, as if it was trying to hide from her. Margaret had gotten goosebumps as soon as she saw this, but when she looked under the bed, and to her surprise, there was no one to be found. As Margaret was about to leave her room after keeping everything at the place, she saw a young girl peeking towards her from her bathroom, but as soon as she saw Margaret, she hid herself behind the door of the bathroom. Margaret was shocked, as she couldn't understand how that girl entered her house and when it happened. For her own safety, Margaret picked up a vase and started walking slowly towards the bathroom. As she entered the bathroom, she saw a 7 or 8-year-old girl sitting behind the door of the bathroom. The girl was very scared and seemed familiar to Margaret, but Margaret wasn't able to remember who that girl was. Margaret kept the vase at the side and sat beside that girl. As Margaret asked the girl about her and how she entered the house, the girl didn't think of anything and hugged Margaret very tightly and started throbbing in a low voice. Margaret embraced the young girl and started thinking that she must have been stuck in some problem and entered her house to get some help. Margaret picked up that girl and started walking towards her room, but after some time, she saw something that she couldn't believe in her eyes. As she walked a little forward, she noticed that the mirror didn't have any reflection of that girl. Seeing this, she got scared, and her foot collided with the bucket kept behind, due to which she fell. Hearing the voice of her sister falling in the bathroom, Katie came running towards her and brought Margaret, who was lying on the floor, to the table. After everything that had happened to her, Margaret was very scared, and that young girl was nowhere to be found as well. As Margaret told everything to Katie, Katie handed over a glass of water to her sister and told her that it might be her hallucination. When Margaret started feeling a little calm, Katie told her that her tarot reading was left midway and they should complete it, but Margaret was not in a condition to do anything. She started telling Katie about the incident that had happened to her all over again. Suddenly, Margaret's phone started ringing, and it was her mom's call. When Margaret picked up the phone, she could hear her mom crying a lot on the call. Listening to the crying, she thought that her father's health might have deteriorated a lot. But when she asked about her father, her mom replied that her father was absolutely fine, but her sister had met with an accident. Her mom said that she left the house in the afternoon for meeting Margaret, but while she was on her way, her car collided with a truck and fell into a ditch. People nearby called a bulldozer and pulled her car out of the ditch. Even then, she was breathing, so the locals took her to the hospital, but she is still in a very critical condition. Listening to all this, Margaret started feeling as if she would faint in some moments. Her head started getting very heavy suddenly, and her body started getting cold. She had started trembling as she was scared. Katie, who was sitting in front of her, started smiling and looking towards her. Then suddenly, her face started transforming, just like that small girl, whom she had seen a while ago. Slowly, the girl started coming towards Margaret. Her face was becoming scarier, and it seemed as if she wanted to hurt Margaret. Suddenly, she attacked Margaret, and Margaret fell down off her chair. The girl climbed on the top of Margaret and started strangulating her. Margaret somehow took the vase lying beside her and hit her head with that vase using all her strength. The girl disappeared in the air, and Margaret fainted. When Margaret regained consciousness, she saw no one around her, neither the little girl nor Katie. Only the tarot cards were lying there that she had taken out for Katie's tarot reading. As she flipped all the cards, to her surprise, each one of them was blank, and only the fifth card had something printed on it, and as soon as she flipped it, she saw death written on it. Suddenly, her phone rang, and her mom told her that Katie had died in the hospital. Margaret didn't understand what was happening to her, but as soon as she started finding out everything, she came to know that a small girl had died in the house in which she used to live in Florida, and the spirit of that girl still wanders in the house. After everything that had happened, Margaret remained in shock for some of the days, and she had completely stopped the tarot reading and shifted back to Georgia to stay with her parents. Till date, she is never able to sleep peacefully, and often feels the presence of her sister Katie and that young girl around her. If you like the story, then do subscribe to our channel, Bloody Monday, and keep watching for more such spine-chilling horror videos. Please do share the videos with your friends and family so that we could get motivation for uploading more of such spooky videos. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on any of our eerie, heart-pounding videos. Keep watching and stay brave.